The International Newsnet World Report is a national television news show available in more than 30 million homes. We broadcast daily real news the networks won't tell you. We are solely viewer-supported. That means you. You can donate at our website, inenworldreport.net. We hope you find the following interview informative and helpful.
The Bilderbergers are searching for the age of post-nationalism, when we won't have countries but rather regions of earth surrounded by universal values. That is to say, a global economy, one world government selected rather than elected, and a universal religion. Pretty scary stuff, but what if it's true? It might be. We're joined in the studio right now by the author of The True Story of the Bilderberg Group, Daniel Estulin. Welcome to INN.
Thanks for having me.
Daniel, how do you get involved in this subject?
Well, it's kind of a cloak and dagger story, really. In 1992, a friend of my grandfather's was a colonel in the KGB. Actually, he was a double agent. He was in trouble. He needed help. My grandfather's help. He tried to get to him through me. And he started talking to me about the secret society called the Bilderberg something or other, and I had no idea what he was talking about. And of course, I was way over my head. And initially, I got into this thing because I thought it was just a great way to pick up girls with these James Bond 007-like stories. Until I realized when I got, into it a little bit that actually a lot of that stuff was true. And the more I got into it, the more I realized that there was a parallel universe which people generally are not aware of. And that's when the Bilderbergers fully consumed me. And ever since 1995, I've been investigating them more or less full time.
We know that powerful people get together and make economic plans, but you suggest that it's more than that.
Well, first of all, Lenny, I'd like to tell you what it is not. It is not a Jewish Masonic conspiracy. It is not an Illuminati conspiracy, whatever the heck that is. And it's also not a monolith, meaning that no group of powerful people, I don't care how powerful they are, get together to sit in a room, dark room, holding hands, staring at a crystal ball, planning the world's domination. It doesn't really work that way. What they are, actually, it's what I call the aristocracy of purpose. Bilderberg's NATO alliance, Europe, United States, and Canada, coming together, meeting, and finding the best ways to manage the planet, which is always about two things, the natural resources and money. But again, money ultimately becomes worthless if there is no natural resources to support it.
What kind of people make it up? Bankers, industrialists?
Presidents of every NATO alliance is there. The leading bankers of every European nation is there. President of the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, the Federal Reserve. All European commissioners are involved. Top 100 CEOs of all the leading corporations, Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, Boeing, etc. And with them at the table sit the leading royalty representatives as well as the leading media outlets such as the New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, Fox, Le Monde, etc., which is, again, one of the reasons we might not have heard of the Bilderbergers is that, again, they control all the levers of power, not on the conspiratorial way, but on a very practical systemic conspiracy where, again, leading roles are controlled by the principal players involved in a group.
In the book, you mentioned that U.S. presidents have been essentially selected or must be approved by Bilderberg Group.
What you just said sounds like, a conspiracy that nobody will actually believe. The way it actually works, if you look historically, and again, I talk about it in the book, over the last 60 years or so, every president and every presidential candidate for the both parties, as well as the independent candidates, have all belonged to the Bilderberg Group, to the Trilateral Commission, or to the Council on Foreign Relations, which are three groups, interlocked amongst each other, amongst themselves. And again, it's just a very powerful forum where people who can actually help the interests of the Bilderbergers come, attend, and if they hold some kind of promise in the future, they get invited back for a second and third look, and that's when they become full-fledged members. But again, it's documented historical evidence that every president and or presidential contender from the opposition party has been a member of the Bilderbergers. And the people who are not, such as, the current Bush too, he has surrounded himself, with the leading representatives of the Bilderbergers, such as Cheney, Rumsfeld, Rice, Pearl, etc., etc. So again, nobody gets to any position of power unless they play along.
This is a carrot and stick relationship. The Bilderberg Group accepts you for head of state, whether it's the United States or one of the European countries. they approve of you. The stick is you must basically toe their party line. And what is the overall party line?
Well, if you don't toe the party line, what will happen to you? Again, these people are very powerful. They don't need to threaten anybody. There's no death threats involved. With a smile, that's enough. Margaret Thatcher, when she was selected by the Bilderbergers long time ago, when the time came for her to support the European integration, she basically came out and publicly said that she will not allow a group of unelected bankers to rule the country. And we know what happened to her. She was replaced by a virtual coup d'etat within her own party by John Major, who was subsequently replaced when his time ran out by another lackey of the Bilderbergers by the name of Tony Blair. So again, selection process works wonders, and these people know they toe the line. And towing the line means, again, one world government, not one world order, because it's a very old concept, goes back too far in history. One constitution, one currency, one flag. And again, we're seeing it. Europe is that. North America is about to become that. Asian Union is the third step, and that's a penultimate step to joining or merging these three, or fusing them into the virtual world government.
Daniel, let's talk a minute about one world currency and going into the North American Union. We've heard about the North American Union. We've heard about the coming of the Amero. Vicente Fox, Mexico's former president, let the cat out of the bag on Larry King's show about a week ago. How serious do you think this is? And tell us where you think it's going to go.
Well, I think it's very, very real. I think it's just incredible that Americans and Canadians are just not getting it. Now, let me give you an example before I get into this. 5 days ago, coming into Canada on a European flight, I live in Europe, I was stopped in Toronto airport by American private security contractors working for DynCorp, who basically were deciding whether I can enter my country on a Canadian passport or not. Now, if that doesn't bring it home, I don't think anything will. I talk about it in my book. In 1996, when we discovered Bilderberg plans to dismantle Canada and join the English-speaking Canada and the United States into a greater North America, we exposed their plans, and they had to postpone their merger to 2000 and then 2007. We're in the year 2007. The North American Union is a reality, and the only journalist in North America is talking about it, a guy by the name of Lou Dobbs. And according to, again, to the CNN, the Amero, which is, the future North American currency, that's going to become a reality within the next year. I'm convinced it's going to be a reality because, again, the same process of integration we've had in Europe. Now, we don't have countries. We have one country called Europe. We have one currency called the Euro, one constitution, which takes precedence over national constitutions. This is exactly what they're going to do here. And again, this is a plan which goes back to the early 1950s when they created, European Union, the first basic model. And they're going to do the same with North America. They're doing the same with Asia. And as Kenneth Clark, the British representative,